Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and this is Elite Dangerous. So I'm finally about to take the long trip home. I've been out here through various nebulas. One of the earlier nebulas back many light years ago was NGC 7822 and that was one of my favourite. I'm out here way in the Sol Nebula now. But it's finally time to take the trip back to civilized space before I have some sort of catastrophe happen and I lose my ship and all the data with it. So 7,400 light years away. By no means a huge, massive trip, but it's certainly no small trip either. It should take a fair while to do that. But we may have some adventures on the way and make various discoveries. But I'm not going to go all the way back to Sol. I want to go to the closest civilized system. So I need to change the settings here so that it shows me that. Let's go back to Sol again. And I think I'll head towards a federal system, which in this case should be a blue one. Green are independent and red would be Empire. I'm already allied with Empire, so I've got a bunch of data here that if I can send to sell to a Federation system, it may raise my reputation with them a little bit. Now the system I choose here is probably not going to be the final system that I go to, but it will probably be the system, the general direction. So there we go, that's the our path set, our route set. We can now set 1000 light year routing with the new changes in the most recent patch, so that makes it easier for sure. Let's make the first jump. As a rough calculation here, my ship can do approximately 30 light years in a jump, so at 3000 light years that would mean 100 jumps. At 6000 light years that would mean 200 jumps, and we've got a little bit more at that, so around about 250 jumps to get home. So quite a bit of this and quite a bit of fuel scooping, but of course I'm not going to make you all sit here through that. It would be rather tedious, wouldn't it? I'll show you the highlights if anything, and I'll edit out all the boring travelling in between, so it should be a much shorter trip for you than it's going to be for me. And one of the systems along the way, this one here, had a rather nice surprise for me. Let's jump back and listen to what I thought. So 25 objects found there, another system scanned. Let's get refueled and I'll have a look at what we found this time. It's taken a bit of time actually checking each system as I go, so I'll probably not continue to do that eventually. But saying that, this actually looks rather interesting. That looks like a potential Earth-like. I've seen a few water worlds and a few high metallic content planets, and they usually look a little bit darker than that one. That one looks much closer to how Earth is displayed in the system map, so that's potentially a very good result there. It's the first planet in this system, so it's going to be easy to find. I'm going to use my normal trick here of flying right up away from the solar plane there, so that I'm actually above the system, as it were, a figure of speech. Let's scan the sun first. If I actually do any detailed surface scans of any systems, I like to have the main sun as well if I can. I try not to scan more than I need to though, as it does take up a bit of time, and when I've got hundreds of systems to traverse through, it's better not to take longer than you actually have to. But this is fairly close, so hopefully it'll start scanning before too long there. I've still got quite a way to go on the trip home. I haven't travelled too far yet, but it's been many hundreds of light years with nothing of particular interest to show now. Here goes the scan. Let's keep my fingers crossed. Come on, please be something good. Or are you going to be just another water world? No, it's not. Ah, an Earth-like. Absolutely brilliant. That's my first Earth-like, and for those of you that have been watching the series regularly, you'll know that this is something I've actually been looking for throughout my whole exploration, and I've never found one yet. So this is the first one. Absolutely brilliant. Really pleased with that. I'm going to get up closer, of course, because I want a good look at this planet. I've not seen any other Earth-like other than Earth, of course, and any of the other terraformed planets in the main systems, civilized systems, should I say. So this one is completely uninhabited, and hopefully it's totally undiscovered prior to this exploration here. I'm hoping that I'm the first discoverer of this planet. These planets should actually hold quite a reasonable amount of value, because they would enable civilization to come out here and start inhabiting this planet, put colonies out here without the need to even terraform. Earth-like planets are completely ready for humans to live on. Of course, it would be interesting to see what other manner of life is actually down there. For all we know, there could be some form of alien life down there, but seeing as so far in elite lore it's only Thargoids that are out there, that's probably unlikely, but that doesn't mean there's not animals down there. And indeed, Frontier have spoken about doing game hunting once we can finally get down to land on planets, so that implies some of these places will indeed have animals. And the surface of the planets do look pretty good now, don't they? Although I'm not convinced that is improvement on the cloud layers there, even though this patch is meant to be improved. And of course the cloud layers still don't move independent of the planets themselves, but nonetheless this is a great find. Very, very happy with it. Absolutely brilliant. So I need to take down the system name here. That's something I'm going to need to remember when I come to sell the system data, so that we can make sure we know the value of our discovery and come back out here to this system and have another look. So is there anything else of value though? It looks like a few metal content planet there's, and maybe some water worlds, although they could equally be ice worlds. The question is, how much time do I want to spend doing detailed surface scans of these places when I've got many thousands of light years to go in order to get back? If I have to stop off too many times, it's got to be weeks before I'm back. It's actually been weeks getting out here, so we've got an Earth-like anyway, and that's brilliant. So I'm inclined to think I'll cut my winnings there, as it were, and move on towards home. Some interesting stats there anyway, although it's probably a little bit closer to the sun. Earth is about 500 light seconds away from the sun, or is actually 1 astronomical unit, and that was significantly closer, although the sun may be a little bit cooler. So of course I did decide to move on, but I was faced by a rather significant problem once I started getting a little bit closer to Earth. And that was that I had to enter the region of space where I was surrounded by completely unscoopable suns. So I was getting no fuel out here, one sun after the other. I was finding things like this, which in terms of fuel scooping is completely useless. And you can see here I'm down to half a tank of fuel, so it was getting a little bit of a worry as to whether I was going to find anything to scoop or not. Now, as you know, this ship can do 30 light years in a jump, but that does take a significant amount of fuel. So what I did here, I'd switched over my routing from fast travel down to economic travel. And what that meant is that I was going to have a lot more jumps in order to get home, but it also meant that my jumps would be about 4 or 5 light years at a time and use significantly less fuel. And that also meant that there'd be more opportunities and more suns to come across, meaning that hopefully I would find a sun which I could scoop fuel from. So yet again another sun that I can't scoop from. Maybe next time. I mean, I've still got half a tank of fuel here, so it's by no means life-threatening yet, but that is why I've dropped down to economic travel rather than fast travel, because it would be a bit silly to wait till I've got nearly an empty fuel of tank before dropping down to economic travel. But it's been a good number of suns so far, and this isn't the first time this has happened either. This is the second or third time this has happened, so this isn't a particularly good region of space if you want to be able to scoop fuel. But, you know, maybe this time. And nope. Okay, well, I guess with the amount of fuel I'm using here, I can just keep on jumping. It's not too much of a burden jumping with this amount of fuel, but it would run out sooner or later, I guess. But at least this way I can probably do... Oh, I've gone to the wrong map there. At least this way I can probably do about 30 or 40 jumps or more before I finally run out of fuel. You can see there, it's fairly short jumps each time. Let's see what happens next time. If there's no luck soon, I'm going to have to actually go into the galaxy map and try and have a closer look at the stars as they appear on the map and try and figure out which ones are going to be scoopable and which ones aren't, because the stars, another no good star. The stars actually do all appear different on the system map, so I could probably locate one manually on the map and try and work my way toward it. But oh, a pink system. I keep checking the system map though, because sometimes there's alternative stars out there. So they all do look like red stars. They're all brown dwarfs, as I'm getting. I want a star like that one, a yellow star. So let's go to that one, select it manually rather than relying on just coming across one by chance. This one looks much more likely to be a star that I'm going to be able to scoop fuel from. I mean, when you think about it, it's quite possible to get to systems out there where stars are 20 or 30 light years apart, as they were as I was getting out toward the outer edge there. The stars can be much further spaced, and if you're unlucky and keep coming across brown dwarfs like I am here, you're going to end up pretty much stuffed. Oh, well, that's a rather interesting system, isn't it? Lucky I didn't end up between the two of those stars, but yes, at last I've found something I can scoop some fuel from. It's going to take a little bit of time because I'm right down to less than half a tank of fuel, but that's a rather interesting layout. And look at that, even more interesting. So two large stars here and two other stars over there. It's the first time I've actually seen a system that looks like this. So when I've scooped the fuel, I'm going to fly away from these stars and try and get a better look. Yeah, I know the temperature's a little bit hot. I'm going to be a bit careful because I don't want to get any more damage than I have to, but I don't want to have to scoop for any longer than I have to either. So let's try and fly away a little bit and look at these stars here. Look how close they're orbiting. Not only the way they're orbiting, but an interesting combination of colours there. First time I've seen anything quite like that. So let's accelerate away and try and look up there. I'm probably going a little bit fast, to be honest. Yeah, a little bit fast, slingshotting around the suns almost. But at this distance it also gives you quite a nice view of the suns there, doesn't it? It'd be nice when Frontier finally introduce some additional effects, because the two yellow suns here and the suns over in the distance there, the gravity should actually be pulling the coronas away from the suns and effectively merging them into each other, giving them somewhat of an hourglass type shape. So maybe one day we'll get to see that as an effect there. That would be quite nice to see and make exploration even more interesting. Right, so which system are we going to choose here? We're getting very close now. This looks like an interesting destination. About 320 light years to go. It's been a while. Quite a lot of jumps all in all. Okay, so that's where we are, and that's where we want to head to. Drive charging, yes, but that looks like a rather small jump. You know what? I don't think I changed it over from economy to fast travel, did I? Let's have fastest routes and plot the course again. Look at all those jumps. I should have noticed that just now, shouldn't I? Too distracted by getting so close to home. That's my excuse anyway, and I'm sticking to it. So let's just switch it to there, and now the other system disappeared. Where's it gone? There we are. Right, now I assume that's the closest one. It's always deceptive on the system map. Sometimes something that looks further away is actually closer, so even if it's only a couple of jumps closer, that'd be worth having. But no, that looks like that's the route we want to go. So the next star is actually a slightly different location, but the jump distance is much better this time. Let's get going. Well then, if there's no more unusual events between here and the destination, then I will probably end up making a cut in this jump and spare you the extensive travel time. And here we are, at last back in civilized space. I've been seeing a few ships travel around over the last few systems or so, but I haven't yet been interdicted. Let's hope I can make it to the station without any interdiction. It's not so much the fear of the interdiction itself. I'm pretty sure I could escape it, but my canopy is pretty mashed up at the moment, so it might only need a slight knock for the whole thing to go shattering into space, and I don't really want that, even though I guess I'm close enough at this point to a station to be able to dock with what little atmosphere I would have. Anyway, let's get towards a station. It's actually very close to the star, this one. Oh, I'm going too fast and shooting past it yet again. Let's head down a little bit and away and slow the ship down. Right, we're nearly there. As always, I'm going to try and head toward the inner side of the station. It saves approaching from the back. Not too bad when it's a Coriolis station like this one, but when it's the Orbis stations, when you approach them from behind, there's always the chance of coming out of super cruise directly into the back of the station, which could be pretty nasty. I haven't actually had it happen to me yet, but I've had a few close calls where I end up right in amongst the station superstructure on the outside of it. A little bit too close for comfort at times, but again, that's never a problem with the old Coriolis stations like we're going to here. Was this Bucky terminal? So nearly there. This is going to be the first time I've actually docked this ship for weeks. I'm not sure quite how long I was out for. I'd need to go back and check the previous episodes, but I'm fairly sure if it's in the region of 4 to 5 weeks since I've actually seen a station with this particular character. And there we go. Now, I don't know if any of you have actually noticed this. I've seen it pointed out in a few places, most notably on the official forums, but listen to the engines here. Now, there's other sounds in the background there, a little bit like the old sound effects on the 60s Star Trek bridge, but the engine itself on the ASP sounds like a proper plane, and it still does. But since patch 1.1 it seems to be significantly quieter, and for me personally that's a little bit disappointing because I absolutely love the sound of the engine of the ASP. So to hear it muted a little bit here is a bit of a shame. It seems like the mix is slightly different and the engine sound blends in with all the other sounds a little bit too much. I'm curious to see how this affects the other ships. I've heard people say it's quite noticeable on the Clipper, but a little bit less noticeable on some of the other ships which didn't have such a distinct engine sound. Pad 23. Let's do a nice landing here rather than overshoot it. And we have touchdown. Brilliant. Right, so I'm kind of curious to see how much money I'm going to make from all this data. I don't expect it to be a huge amount by any means. I've never made the excessive amount of what's our repair bill there? Quite high. I've never made an excessive amount of money by doing exploration, but keep an eye on my balance. I'm at 1.7 million now. Let's have a look at some of these pages here. So just over 70,000 credits for this page. I'm quite grateful that the new sell page option is there, because it's going to save some time on this. So there's a few of them with detailed surface scans. As you would have known from having watched my episodes, I tend not to do too many detailed surface scans unless I see something that's particularly interesting or particularly stand out. But even so, some of these systems seem to have quite a good value to them. Now, do I click on next? A little bit dubious of doing this, because always the servers are very slow and things can break. It takes a while. It spins around and we have to wait. Please don't break. Come on. Now, it's clearly going to take a lot of time for me to get through all the data here. I've got pages and pages of it, I'm sure. So I'll make a few cuts and show you the interesting parts, I think. Here's the most interesting one I was actually looking for. Not this one. No, they're not actually there. I'm looking for the Earth-like planet. It's the extension. There's MLK. I think that's the one. And I guess that one there must be the Earth-like, as that's got the highest value. I did in the end stop off and do some detailed surface scans of some of the other planets out there, because they look to be metal rich, so I thought them to be worthwhile, and I wanted to try and make as much money from that system as possible. But I didn't scan all of them by any means. But that there is the Earth-like planet, and that's a fairly valuable system. As you can see from my balance, I've gone through quite a few pages, and as you will have no doubt noticed from the time on the clock up there in the left hand corner, from before I made the cut to after I've made the cut, that's a difference of quite a few hours. So I've had to stop off and gone away and had something to eat and got on with a few other things and returned to the game. But I have been sitting here at Universal Cartographics selling all these pages for quite a lot of time now. Each page takes a fair while to actually sell. So that's a large sum there for this page. That gets me up probably close to 6 million. Oh, and we've got a congratulations, you are the first to discover, which is great news. I've had a few of these, so I'm going to jump in a minute and show you what ones I've actually seen. This is the system with the Earth-like planet in, so I'm pleased that both have found a Earth-like planet as well as been the first discoverer of that planet. That's good news. I'll get a little name tag on there. Hopefully soon there'll be a way of filtering out systems we've actually found, but for now there isn't. I've got to use a little pad or have very good memory. Now this lags up a little bit here. This is where a lot of the time's gone into it. It actually shows up, but then I can't click close until the game actually decides it's acceptable for me to click close. And that system there is worth quite a lot of money, although I don't really seem to see why. It's a shame it doesn't actually tell you here what that actual planet is. Some of these I'll write down and go and check, but it'd be nice if it gave you a little bit of information here on the information page, whether that's an Earth-like or high metal content planet. comparatively speaking, I was expecting the Earth-like to be a little bit higher, I guess. So at last, all the data is sold. It turned out I had roughly 46 pages worth of data. We're going to check out now some of those systems. So that's 46 times 20, which is 920. So that was about 920 systems I travelled through on that particular excursion. So not a huge number, but a fair amount indeed. Let's have a look. This should be the Earth-like system. And there you go. It's got the first discovered by Commander Granite tag. So there we go. And these are the other systems. So the other planets I did scan, which I wasn't going to scan initially, and they did turn out to be ice planets rather than water worlds, which was a little bit of a shame. It meant their value was quite a bit less than they would have been otherwise, but nonetheless it's a very good system, and you've got the name there, so if you want to go and check that out for yourself, by all means go and do it. So I'm going to have a look at some of the other systems here. I wrote these down on a notepad. I thought they were places worth checking out. There was some curious information there, and I wanted to see what it was all about. Now, what I wanted to check here was why planet A3 gave me 18,000 credits. And I guess that's because it's... oh look, that's why. These are both candidates for terraforming, as well as being one a water world and the other a high metal content planet. The water world was worth 26,000 credits, so they're actually worth more than the Earth-like planet, which was around 21,000. Seems a little strange, but perhaps they're a little bit better situated in relation to the Sun. I don't know what factors come into play there. I wanted to check here as well, and I suspected that the money I was getting here was from the black hole, although I'm not the first to discover on them. But that was 20,000 credits, so 20,000 credits for a black hole. That was pretty much in line with the estimates that people have posted around the internet, which obviously they were just guesstimating or working out based on information they had written down. At the point they'd done that, there was no actual data provided in the game showing them that. So another system with black hole again, and Star Falcon discovering this one yet again. So it looks like he'd been to a few of these systems out here. So all of those were worth around about 20,000 credits. Now we got another one here. One of the planets in this system was worth 32,000 credits, so I'm kind of curious to see what that's about as well. It was planet A3, so this one here. So this one is a water world planet, and it's also a planet, it's a candidate for terraforming. So again, for some reason that's worth a lot more than the actual Earth-like, but these ones are first discovered by me, so that's something as well. And you actually get a bonus when you first discover. You get a 50% bonus, so in some cases that can be quite a lot of money. I didn't do a detailed, again you have to do a detailed surface scan in order to be first to discover, and no doubt I would have had a lot more of them had I done a lot more detailed surface scans. Right, so this is one of the more recent ones out in the Sol sector. These ones should be first discovered for me. At least I got that as a message on the universal cartographic screen, and yeah, I'm first to discover there. So some high metal content planets, but only the one. Obviously didn't scan the others for some reason, although I have seen that there's a bug in the game at the moment, so beware. It might be worth waiting if you've got some data to sell. It might be worth waiting until the bug's actually fixed, and some people are suggesting that there's up to a third of the systems they're actually selling and not actually completing to the universe, the galaxy screen. It's not showing up. They're not getting a system map for it, and they're not getting the credited for discovering tag either. So it's possible something's going on there. And finally, I wanted to look at this one because I didn't do a detailed surface scan on it, but it did have a fairly reasonable value of 3,299 credits. But obviously, because I didn't do a detailed surface scan, it doesn't actually tell me what the planet was. Anyway, here we are back in civilized space at last, with all exploration data sold, and as you saw, I've now got around about 6.3 million credits, which means I made just over 4.5 million for all that data. So it's not such a bad haul, all in all. And it also means I can use that as funds for trading, enabling me to keep hold of my ASP to do that with. I'm going to hang around in civilized space for a while and start building up my funds, and then I guess I will take another look at where I want to head next. I suspect it will be towards the core of the galaxy, as that's something I haven't seen yet. It's been an interesting trip, although I'm glad to be back for now. Well, that's it. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. This has been Obsidian Ant, signing off.